Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Clarivet webinar, The Future of IP Operations, AI, Automation, and the Next Generation of IP Management. We are pleased to have a broad audience with us today, including corporate IP teams, legals, innovation professionals, universities, research organizations, and more across the region. As IP portfolios continue to grow in complexity, many organizations are looking for better ways to support more informed decision making. So today's session will explore how AI, automations, connected workflows, and the next generations of IP management are shaping the future of IP operations. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping notes. Can we go to the housekeeping notes, please? Yep, thank you. So the session will be recorded and the recording will be shared with all of you after the sessions. And your microphone is muted by default. So please use the chat or Q&A panel to submit your questions. And we also welcome your feedback. So please complete the survey after the session is over. And we'll have a Q&A towards the end of the webinar. So without further ado, I'll now hand over to our speaker, Joachim, to begin the sessions. Joachim, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Joachim Kreuter and I'm based in Austria, in Graz. This is also where I co-founded Unicom, a European-based IP management system, more than 25 years ago. And ever since, I spent my professional life in IP and IPMS development. At Clarivate, I'm VP of Product, overseeing our corporate IPMS portfolio, with IP Folio being our flagship product globally. Today, I have the pleasure of visiting our Korean office, which also makes hosting this webinar easier time zone-wise. Let's start with the question, why are we talking about future and next generation of IP operations? First of all, the world in IP is getting more complex. And I'm sure you are feeling this too, because not only are the overall numbers of patent and trademarks filings continuously growing, also the individual portfolios are growing in size and in the number of jurisdictions covered. So more PTOs, more rules, more foreign agents, more communication, more renewals, more complexity. Next is the expectations for IP teams to be contributing to the business outcomes and to not only be the administration. And AI is one of the enablers here, if it is embedded into the everyday workflows. And we'll see examples of that in a few minutes. The backbone of this is the IPMS platform, not a standalone tool, but one that is connected and embedded into an ecosystem. An ecosystem like Clarivate's that allows you to collaborate and interact seamlessly with inventors, outside counsels, and other stakeholders. An ecosystem that offers an unmatched breadth of services to integrate, both for patents and trademarks. An ecosystem, and that's even more important in the age of AI, that integrates with your existing IT landscape, HR, billing systems, e-signature, analytics, or whatever tools there are. All of this to maximize the efficiency. With an IPMS that is the true system of record for all kinds of IP and has all the data and documents in one place. An IPMS that automates workflows across the entire IP lifecycle, helping you to save time and money by eliminating manual workload. And an IPMS that offers flexibility to meet the individual needs of your IP department. And Whatever operational model you prefer, in-house filing and prosecution, working with outside agents, or a mix, we make sure your data stays clean, is consistent, and really is the single source of truth for the management of your portfolio. Because only then you are able to make fast and reliable decisions. Decisions supported by analytics, data visualizations, and reporting. And this is where we as Clarivate bring all our expertise together with data and software to make your life easier and to remove friction from IP management. And one area where Clarivate has, I would say, unique expertise is the handling of patent annuities and trademark renewals. And let me draw your attention to the number of 5 million patents and more than 1.5 million trademarks that we successfully renewed for our customers. So why do the biggest companies in the world trust Clarivate with their annuities? It's because of the 3 layers of protection we are offering. First and foremost, the global expertise, which in the end is the expertise of more than 1,500 certified local agents, and the expertise of more than 50 legal experts continuously monitoring law changes, regulations, and procedures globally. Second, data verification. That's where we perform over 12 million data verification checks every single year. And we proactively correct over 500,000 portfolio issues before payment. So we are actively managing data risk so our customers don't have to. And finally, the financial side of things. Other providers operate a payment first, renewal second model. We are the opposite. We operate a renewal first, payment second model. And because of our scale, we fund more than 2 billion euro in annual payments. We prioritize protecting the customer's IP first, and then we collect payment later. And to close the loop to the connected ecosystem, the most efficient way to do this is by unifying IP management and annuities, leading to simplification and reduced complexity, better insight and supporting decision-making, reduced risk, and finally saving time and money. But now let's talk about the topic that brought most of you here today, AI, artificial intelligence. I will use some of the insights that we gained from our Clarivate report, The Evolution of AI in IP, to set the stage before Sebastian will then show in a live demo how embedded AI within IPMS workflows actually increases efficiency and productivity. And it's those efficiency and productivity gains that IP teams are desperately looking for, with 64% saying they are understaffed and AI is supposed to help them. Still, 60% think AI is primarily for research and analysis. And yes, this is where AI adoption has been higher in the beginning. Today, AI is coming to the core of IP management processes with openness, but also high expectations of IP operations teams and in-house attorneys. Expectations regarding the automation of manual tasks, greater productivity, and more time for high-value work. And while 75% use general-purpose AI tools for IP use cases, at the same time, integrated ecosystems are being embraced for their combination of high-quality data, enterprise LLMs, and specialized agentic models. And while it seems compelling to invest and build something from scratch, assembling best-in-class tools is considered to be the better choice to deliver business value. And this has various reasons: security, privacy, and reliability concerns, limitations of general purpose AI tools, and disconnected point solutions. While on the other hand, bringing AI to your data, meaning into the IPMS, but also making it accessible, and at the same time using curated, reliable IP data, will lead to more trust, more transparency, more control, more flexibility, and more integration. All right, enough theory and statistics. Let's see AI in IP operations in action. Sebastian, over to you.
Good morning. My name is Sebastian Lechner. I'm a Director of Product Management here at Claravet for IP Folio and also in beautiful Seoul, Korea at this time right now. Normally, I'm based in southern Germany and I've been with IP Folio for 12 years this year. Let's go into our demo. But before we do that, I want to tell you a little bit about IP Folio and the platform that it's built on. Because what the users see is actually just the very surface of things. So they see the portfolio that they're managing. They see the cleaned up data. They can access the reporting and dashboarding in IP Folio, and they can interact and see the workflows that are built around everything. But under the hood, beneath the surface, there's a lot more going on. So we have data connectivity to public prosecution documents, to private prosecution documents. There's bibliographic data that's integrated into the system, mostly through our Derwent and CompuMark databases. And where does the data come from? Well, it comes from more than 75 patent databases and more than 186 trademark databases. And you will see some of the most important patent and trademark offices here. So we have the USPTO, we have the European Patent Office, the World Intellectual Property Office, Japanese Patent Office, Taiwan, Korea, and many others that are not even listed here. Well, of course, India, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. Then also we have a lot of existing integrations into business applications. So there's document management solutions, for example. So we have existing integrations into SharePoint or into NetDocuments or other solutions that you use inside of your daily operations to manage your documents. There's legal enterprise management integrations, finance. So we have clients that, well, you manage your finance data in SAP, for example, and then you want to get this cost data inside of your IP management system to run analysis against your portfolio and how much you're spending. And the true cost is usually stored in your finance system. There's if you use different tools for reporting or business intelligence, well, there's all sorts of tools out there. So for example, Power BI or Tableau, all of those are already integrated. Then HR data is very important, especially when it comes to inventors or marketing people, to get just that true data, so your source of truth, which is your HR data, into the IP management system. So let's just name a few examples. Workday, for example, is a system that we integrate with. And then an increasing trend that we see is new enterprise applications that client want to integrate with. So just the other day, we had a client that wants to send their emails through their own servers instead of what we provide. So they built a custom integration for that. And then at the very bottom, there's connectivity. So everything, all the data and the metadata inside the platform is exposed via or is exposable via modern APIs. So you can access data using, for example, the REST API or the bulk API. Also access the metadata through the metadata API. And then in the age of AI, there's this thing called MCP, the Model Context Protocol. It's an open protocol so that AI agents, they can interact with the system and retrieve data from the system from, just using this MCP protocol. And let me show you how that looks like in practice. So I have connected Claude here to my IP folio database. And if I ask it a question, very simple one, show me all of my patterns in a graph. And now you can see I didn't provide any specific details. So what should it group the data by? What's even the table, the database table for patterns in IP folio? Well, I didn't tell it that. It just goes into that MCP connector and figures out the data model. And earlier I was saying, hey, it can not only access data, but also metadata. So every time it goes in there, it understands our data structure, but also what's custom on top of it. So all of your custom fields for an invention disclosures, for example. Clients, they have different varieties of how long the intake form is. And all of that is exposed here now because I wanted it to expose it to this agent. So you have very tight control. And yeah, now it figures out the data model first and then retrieves the data. And then with its knowledge of AI, of IP, it just shows me a graph of my patterns. So let's just wait for that to finish. So you can already see here, well, it figured out what the right status fields are. So it's using the statuses for visualization because I didn't provide any other context here. And there's a lot of data because it's running against the entire database now. And now we can see, okay, well, I don't have that many patterns in this database. It's 92 in total, but broken down by the status. And now I created a breakdown chart by status, and it also shows me a filing trend by filing year. So I think that's very interesting because I did not provide any of that. If I were to create a traditional report, I would have to tell the system exactly, hey, break it down by filing year or break it down by country or whatnot. But the AI can do all of that on its own. And we see that a lot with clients that they have. Almost every client nowadays has an internal chatbot. It doesn't have to be Claude. It can be ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you're using. And very often that's connected to existing tools that you have. So it might be connected to your knowledge base, to your SharePoint, to your calendar, to your emails. And adding the data from the IP management system on top of that really helps you to build out your own workflows that you might have internally. All right, let's go back into the system and let's take a look at our IP portal. So the IP portal, just think of it as a very streamlined interface for your engineers, inventors, marketing people to go into the system and submit new trademark search requests, new invention disclosures, new open source requests, any type of request or any type of submission that you can think of is supported here. So we have a flavor. This is a more complex portal. It shows you a dashboard with a breakdown of trademark filings and trademark search requests. This one here is a different flavor. It's more streamlined. Inventors can come in here and check, for example, hey, what is the status of my previous disclosures? So they don't have to call your IP department and say, where is this now? Has this been approved? What's the status here? But what I want to show you today is we want to make it as simple as possible for inventors to come in here and submit their ideas. And previously, well, they work on things like this. Their inventions, they're stored in a PowerPoint deck, in a PDF, and they spend a lot of time on this. This is my sample invention disclosure. Well, and then they go into this portal and they have to fill out everything that's already contained in this document. Well, now with this AI agent that runs in the background here, if I upload a document, the agent is instructed to extract all of those fields here from this document and then just pre-fill the invention disclosure for me, just to make it very, very simple and convenient for the inventors to come in here, because we want to get their ideas into our system, right? And now it pre-filled this invention disclosure for me, and the inventor can now review everything that's provided by the agent and then make modifications before they submit the invention disclosure. Let's move into main IP folio. So this is a much more complex and richer view of the same system, but now it's targeted for the in-house IP team. So the inventor, we want to have it very streamlined, but here we want to have a lot more details around everything. And as a first step, so we have this invention disclosure with a lot of text now. It would be nice if we had a short summary of this. And as you can see, all of my fields here, they have this little pencil icon, and this one has a little AI pencil icon. So I can click on this button here, and in the background, there's a prompt associated that can now retrieve all of these details from this invention disclosure and provide a short summary. And I can review this short summary here and say, okay, this is fine. Let's hit use. It puts it directly in here, and I can save my record with the summary. Now as a first step, I want to assess the novelty of this invention disclosure. And there's two things that help me with that. One of them is invention screening. So every time I hit this is a live widget that does a call out into our Derwent patent database, and it retrieves prior art. And you can see here there's a numeric indication of how relevant this patent here is to this invention disclosure. And then I can just review all of those, and the ones that I think are relevant to this invention disclosure, I just click this button here and it brings them in as cited references. Now this is the public spectrum. On the other hand, what we see more and more is, well, there's staff turnover at clients, and new members, they're not entirely familiar with the entire portfolio, so they don't know necessarily what invention disclosures came in like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or even for multinational companies, it's not always evident that maybe a team in China or in India is working on something that's very similar to something that a team in the US might be working on. And so we have this screening capability now, that there's an AI that scans through previous invention disclosures and links up the most relevant, most similar ones to this invention disclosure. So I can see, okay, there's 10 invention disclosures that are similar to this submission here that have been put in here. And also here, there's a numeric indication of how similar this one is. And so now I can use the public and the private information to make my assessment whether I want to move forward with this invention disclosure or not. Now, let's talk about a scenario where I've sent out this invention disclosure to an IP committee and asked several people to review. And a sample form of this could look like this. So they answer, hey, how high is the detectability here? What's the market potential, novelty, and so on? And they provide feedback on this invention disclosure. Well, and one thing that clients have told us was, you know, very often we have to reject invention disclosures. And well, there's a lot of information in this committee feedback because people took their time responding to it. And now if we send out a rejection, well, the inventors, they also spent a lot of time on this invention disclosure. So they don't want to get a boilerplate template that says, apologies, we have to reject your invention disclosure, because they will come back and say, why? What was the issue? So we want to give them something that's grounded in this data, in this committee feedback data. And we have here 10 committee members have put in their feedback for this invention disclosure. And the client, they told us, well, now it takes around 10, 15 minutes for each invention disclosure for us to reject it, because somebody has to review this data again and then draft out something based on this committee feedback. Well, now with AI, we just have a button up here that says AI reject, and the system will now retrieve all of those committee votes. Not exactly copy paste everything in here, but just draft out a nice rejection email, very polite one that is based on this committee feedback. And then hopefully we have an email that the inventors, they will understand why we made that decision to reject their invention disclosure, because it's grounded in this rejection data. So now we can review this and send it over. Of course, I could also say, hey, I just blindly trust what the AI agent has come up with, and I just send it out automatically. Both things are possible. Good. Let's make another example here. And I just want to be very clear. What I'm showing here, this is not a definite list of AI features. This is just more to give you an idea of what is possible, how deeply AI is embedded into the system, that it can interact with the system, that it can retrieve data. Yeah, so it's not a definite list, and we're always expanding these use cases. And yeah, now let's assume we did not reject this one. We approved it for filing. So here I can say, well, today we're going to make a first filing in Germany, and we can provide a law firm here. We can say when we would expect the first draft by and the target filing date. And let's create a patent record. And now what usually happens is, well, now there's an email being sent out to my law firm saying, hey, please file this as a patent. There's an email being sent out to the inventors saying, congratulations, we've approved this for filing. We're now going to file it in Germany. The portal is updated, so it now shows, hey, this invention disclosure has been approved for filing, and so on. And it doesn't have to be emails. It could be notifications in Slack. It could be notifications in Teams or elsewhere. But so what typically happens now is my law firm, they will file this as a patent, and then they will provide me with an email. And that email might look something like this. So it says, hey, dear sir or madam, we filed this as a German patent application with the German Patent and Trademark Office, and here's the application number, and here's the filing date. And now what happens is, well, the law firm, they put this application number and this filing date into their IP management system. And now there's two different options. Well, either I have my law firm also working in my IP management system. So now somebody from them will come into my system and also update this patent and copy paste the application number in there and the filing date, which is called double docketing. But this is, of course, time consuming, prone to errors, and it's also costly because I'm paying somebody who gets a lot of money from me just to go into my system and update that system. Well, now, and this is just for demo purposes, I have a button here. In reality, this would run in the background automatically. Now, this AI agent is instructed to scan through the data in that email and extract bibliographic data and extract tasks that might be in there. And now we can see there's 2 data audits over here. So this is, hey, application number. The underlying patent is this 62DE case. It has a blank application number, also has a blank filing date. And this is the data that was extracted now. And now I can either choose to manually accept or discard this data, or of course I could say, well, just automatically accept this data and directly write it into my patent record or trademark record or domain names or any other form of IP. Over here, well, we're in South Korea right now. It's an AI. You can also understand Korean. I do not. I could probably guess that the first one here is the application number and the second one is the filing date, but I don't know for sure. Well, the AI correctly mapped this application number. So it understood that this is the application number, this is the filing date, mapped it in here. And now I can also either manually accept this or automate the entire process and accept the data. But for some fields, you want to be more cautious. So for example, priority details, you might want to have a human in the loop that just reviews and double checks that everything is in order. For other data, for example, if the law firm, if you instruct them and say, hey, can you please file this as a patent? The first thing they might do is they send you the law firm reference. Well, it might be nice to keep that in your own system as well. So you always know what the law firm's reference is, but you might not need a human to review that data necessarily. So you can say law firm reference is automatically accepted, but something like an application number, filing date, that is something you want to manually review. Okay, then let's say now this patent's been filed, it's been granted, and now let's move into a different part of our portfolio, and that is renewal decisions. So as Joachim was explaining earlier, we handle all of the renewals part, the entire process on the Clarivet side, but still you as a client, you want to make the decision, which ones do you want to abandon here? And as you can see, this entire portfolio here, everything is active right now, but I might, well, my boss might have said, hey, we need to save some money. We need to cut down our renewal cost by 5% this year. So we need to abandon some patents in the portfolio. And every client has different metrics for assessing what is most important for them to maintain and what is not. And now we also provide you with an additional data point to help you with that. And that is the renewal score. It's a numeric score ranging from 0 to 100 that tells you how we think how valuable this patent is and whether you should renew it or not. So a very high score indicates there's a very high likelihood that this should be renewed, versus a very low score, you should review whether this is really something you want to keep. Let me sort by this score here, and now I could say, for example, everything below 50, I'm gonna abandon it. But, well, why does this patent here, for example, have such a low score? And I can just click here, and it takes me into Derwent Patent Analytics, shows me again this 21 score. And then, well, the AI should be explainable. So explainable AI, it shows me the breakdown, all of the different factors that impact this score. So we can see the company investment here really negatively impacts this score. We see some technology level indicators, again, company investment, and then all of these different factors contribute to this low score here. So then let me abandon these, and now this inactive decision, this would now be under the hood to be transferred over to our renewals operations team and they would then stop the payment or give the abandonment instructions. Good. Then another use case I want to show you is over here. So here we have a patent record that seemingly seems to miss a lot of bibliographic data. And that is because, well, I created it just, a couple of days ago with just the minimum information. And normally what would happen now is the system would go out into the Clarivet database of published patents and retrieve data. For demo purposes, I have a button again because it demos much more nicely. And you can see now, well, it's bringing in all of those different bibliographic data points. Now I can see, okay, this patent is issued. But what it also did is it brought in this piece of data here. I'm going to go into that in a second. Let's talk about categories. So in IP Folio, you have really a lot of flexibility in setting up your own taxonomy structures. And in this example, I have a technology category tree. And well, I can go over these categories and tag this patent and say, okay, this is something about semiconductors. Yeah, probably in-vehicle networking, and tag this. So, and you might, it's a very time-consuming process to tag all of your patents with the right categories. And you might do this for your own portfolio because you want to really split it out and dissect it and analyze it and look at spending by category or by business unit or whatever. But you might not do this for competitor patents because it's just so time consuming. So what's a good metric to compare your own portfolio with your competitive portfolio? And this is again where AI comes in. So we have something which is called standard product taxonomies. So we came up with a very concise taxonomy structure that covers products. And for every published patent, we did this classification, and you can retrieve it into your published patents, but also third-party patents. And now all of a sudden you have a common denominator where you can third-party patents that you also keep in your IP management system, so the ones that you want to watch closely, and your own patents. And then you can compare how those are tagged by this standard product taxonomies feature. And then last but not least, let me go over into the setup. So this is how the setup of the system looks like, and you can access all sorts of details in here. So you can check, you can create new users, you can assign different permissions to them, you can check their permissions. But something that might come up is questions from a team member that says, oh, for example, can my coworker Breeze, can he access trademarks in the system? And instead of just going into the user account and then checking their permissions and everything, I can just ask the AI and say, hey, can Breeze, if I can spell, access trademarks? And just using natural language, the system will now go out and check the configuration of the system, find the right user record. Well, first of all, it understands the context. Well, this is a question about user access rights for a user. So it finds the user, finds the right object, and tells me, okay, yes, he can access that. But also it explains to me, well, yes, here, object permissions for trademarks, and he can read, create, edit, delete, view all. Field permissions, I can look into those details, and so on. Another thing would be asking about a specific record. So we submitted this invention disclosure 62 earlier, this one. And now I can ask a question like, why can't John Doe access. Okay, might a spelling error here, but it's an AI. It should understand what I really mean. And now the AI tells me, okay, this user doesn't have access because, well, invention disclosures by default, they're set to private. So only the inventors and co-inventors can access it on the portal side. And John Doe, he's just not an inventor on this, so he cannot access this. Just one more technical detail that I want to show here is earlier I was showing this short summary here. And in the back end of the system, let's get a little bit more technical, just this button here, because the only thing that I do really is press the button, right? And the system generates this short summary for me. And by the way, you can also do things like translate to, let's say, Korean here. And immediately it's translated into Korean, and I use that instead. So in the backend, this is tied to a prompt. And the prompt, it looks something like this. So it gives the context, hey, you're a patent analyst and technology strategist, review this invention disclosure. And now I give it the data that it should look at. So it shouldn't just use any general knowledge, so it could hallucinate. It's really in the context of this invention disclosure. And now it's the entire invention disclosure. I could break it down and just say, hey, please use these five fields only, or use related data, for example, from the committee review, and so on. Then I give it my requirements. But over here, this is the interesting technical part. So because one of the questions that we always get is, what's the large language model that you're using here? And the answer is, well, in this case, the default model is GPT-5. So that's an OpenAI model. But you can see a lot of commercially available models in here. So you see Azure models, Amazon models. We see Anthropic, Claude models in here, Gemini models. So if you have a preference, you can just choose a different model, also depending on the complexity of the task. But also some very large organizations, they have their own large language models. So you can also plug in your own large language model in here. All right. I think that's it for now for my live demo. Let me just stop sharing my screen here and let's dive into questions. Okay, so
sorry, did you want to take that one? This one.
So before we start into questions, there are a few more slides that we want to share. So first of all, thanks, Sebastian. That was really great. And I hope all of you could get an understanding of what an AI-enabled IPMS platform can do for you, because what we saw today, and Sebastian mentioned it, was just a glimpse of what is possible. The webinar is called The Future of IP Operations. And let me share a bit how we at Clarivate look at this, and even more important, how we are contributing to it. And just to make sure, the future is right here, right now. We heard a lot about the connected ecosystem and the importance of data. And some of you might have seen the press release about 2 months ago, where we introduced IP1, our recently launched unified IP intelligence platform. IP1 is a platform that hosts intelligent, hyper-focused agents that become available in our products. IP1 also has a SaaS phase that works as an entry point to our ecosystem. And different agents talk to each other. For example, you do an FTO analysis with an agent, and it passes the info to the monitoring agent to watch for further risks. IP1 also hosts MCP servers for those who build their own intelligence on top of our data, or using it in a third-party general purpose agents like ChatGPT, Copilot, or Claude. And we even have our first MCP listed on the Anthropic marketplace. Clarivate has three key components for the agentic era. Data, as you can see on the screen, that is agentic friendly, thanks to human curated data sets like our famous DWPI data. Our expertise, we have a huge services team that provides wide ranges of service which help us to build out those agents. And we heard about that, our ecosystem. We have products literally for each step of a life cycle. And IP folio being one of them. And this is what a picture looks like from the IPMS side, which is naturally the center of the world. Because there was one component, or there was one important data set missing in the slide before. We saw curated patent data, trademark data, and litigation data. And that's a powerful source for agents to work with. But what was missing is your data, private data, data from the single source of truth. So the future of IP operations, at least from a system landscape point of view, is the IPMS at the center of a connected, automated, and agentic ecosystem. Our ecosystem and yours. Thank you. Now we can hand over to the questions.
Thank you, Joachim. Well, it's really insightful and also the demo that you have shared just now together with Sebastian. So yep, let's just dive into the Q&A. I think we have a few questions that is coming out. So the first questions will be, can you touch upon how embedded AI is using safeguards to reduce hallucinations, missed results, and false positives in AI-assisted IP searches?
You want to take this one?
Yeah, thank you for that question.
So there's a couple of steps that we take here to reduce hallucinations, for example. First of all, we ground the agent in the data from the IPMS. So it's not just general knowledge, it's really in the context of this certain record or of the database of IP folio that it should answer questions. The other thing is there's very strict guardrails in place. So it instructs the agent, this is what you can do, this is what I expect from you. But all of these things, this is something that you cannot do. So the agent really has to say, okay, well, if I don't have enough context or if the instructions might be misleading here, then I have to clearly say, I can't provide an answer here. And then also we can define, so in the use case of my rejection email, well, the output that I was expecting from the agent was clearly text. But in the case of extracting data from an email, I don't expect it to give me always a huge block of text that says, oh, maybe somewhere in there there's an application number it extracted, but I tell it clearly, hey, I'm expecting an application number, a filing date, and all of those other dates. And if you can't find one, then please just output this variable. No, there's nothing that I found here for this one. So clear expectation. And then there's a whole test suite in the background. So we can define a lot of test cases, and we can even ask the agent to create test cases for us, and then run those test cases through the AI, and then look at the results and define expected results. And then every time, for example, you see that happening a lot now, some large language models, they get deprecated, and there's the new generation coming up. Well, I now have to test again. Do I get the same output of this large language model again. And of course, sorry, it sounds a little bit naive when I say the same output. It's a non-deterministic system, right? So there's always some variation in there. But some models, they support changing the temperature. And the temperature here means what's the variability? So should it be more every time I run this prompt through, I get a totally different result, or should it be more reproducible? And then also another thing is, and we just had a discussion about that yesterday, if I have some conditions, for example, if I say, if the renewal score is less than 20, please auto reject this invention disclosure. I don't want to plug in that if 20 into a large language model because I might get a different outcome every time. So we clearly separate that out, and something that is very deterministic, like a condition logic, that runs in a separate logic system, and only the text part is run through the large language model. Yes, that would be my answer.
Thank you, Sebastian. That's really a good insight. I think there's another questions is also about whether is this AI feature is now live globally, and is there like any problems or any issues with where the server or data center is located? Yeah.
Yeah, I can also take that one. So everything that you saw today was a live demo. So it wasn't made up or anything. All of this was technically working. Commercially, on the other side, we haven't started rolling this out, everything that you saw today out yet. So some of the things that you showed, that I was showing today, they are available. Other things, mostly around autonomous agents, we have not rolled them out yet, but we're planning on rolling those out soon. Any problems with the server data center is located. So some of these models that we're using, it just takes a server that's available. So for the OpenAI models, for example, there's other models that are geo-aware. So if you choose that model, I think that's mostly for the Anthropic models, it's just using the nearest by server that it can find. So if you're in the APAC region, it will most likely take a server in Japan, for example, that runs the large language model, just to reduce also that latency in there. But then if you say you bring your own large language model, then of course it depends on where that model is hosted.
Thank you, Sebastian. Hopefully we have answered the questions, the doubts that from one of the audience. So the next questions would be for existing IP folio customers. What can they do now to prepare their data and workflows for the new AI capabilities coming to the platform?
Yeah, very good question. So there's a couple of things that you can do already. And what we see, for example, is when clients, they migrate over into IP folio, they want to keep all of that existing data from their old IP management system or Excel or whatever you were using before, or some even don't have anything, just the entire portfolio is managed with the law firm, but still you get that export data from the law firm and you want to keep everything. And then you create all sorts of fields in there or tables in the system, and it can clutter up the database a little bit. And as you saw when I used the AI agent to run natural language reporting, well, it just searches through that entire database, and it might just be that this old data, it's cluttering up the results. So just look at your system, look at some fields that you might not need anymore, look at fields that you might have introduced in the implementation phase that are completely empty because you're not using them. You thought you had a workflow that used something, but now you don't anymore. And then also, what I personally see a lot is when clients go into the implementation phase, well, they look at the whiteboard and they say, hey, these are all the workflows and processes that I have internally, and they build them into the system. And then only with some years of using the system, you actually realize the capabilities of the system. And that might be a good time now in the age of AI to just revisit everything that you're doing in your existing workflows and think about how you might want to streamline that, and also where it makes even sense to plug in AI. Because I'm personally not a fan of, just because it's a hype right now, to use AI for everything. Well, first of all, it changes in output. So some things I just want to have something very deterministic. If this, then that, then send this email or so. I don't need to use AI for that. And then also, it's incurring a cost, right? There's a large language model running in the background that's usage based. So maybe I don't need AI for a certain process here, but for another process, I might need it. And then also just think about, yeah, AI can help you with streamlining your existing processes, but it doesn't need necessarily mean that you need to use AI within that process. Yeah.
Thank you, Sebastian. I think we have another question. Could you explain the difference between connecting a company existing AI tools to IP Folio through MCP and using autonomous agents within IP Folio?
Yeah, a very good question. So as mentioned, the autonomous agents, they're coming soon. The MCP, on the other hand, is available today. So you can use your existing IP Folio and plug it into your existing AI chatbot. And another thing that we oftentimes see is organizations, while they might be early adopters of AI, or they might be really eager to adopt AI, there's still there's some review process around adopting a new AI tool. And it's very, well, if you have an internal AI chatbot already, then this has been cleared by your internal IT legal processes and so on. So you're authorized to use it. And then usually it's not an issue to just plug in an additional data source into that chatbot. And then also the commercial part, it's handled already inside of your company because, well, you have a subscription to Claude, ChatGPT, and so on. So all of the tokens, all of that is handled already inside of your company. So it's a great way to just start using AI today. There's some limitations, of course, here. So for example, if I want to ask questions about the content of documents inside of IP Folio, I can't easily do that because that's not data that's exposed there. And also, every time it calls the IP Folio system, it doesn't extract all of the data therein and then run it through the AI. So certain questions like saying, hey, I have this invention disclosure, find me similar ones. It's just not possible just using this MCP connection. So that's really where the autonomous agent in IP Folio comes in. And then also the autonomous agents, they can really interact with the system. Whereas the MCP on its own, or the AI chatbot that you have within your company, it can just say, hey, I'm going out there and I'm approving this patent for filing. You sort of, if you wanted to do something like that, you'd have to have an autonomous agent inside of IP Folio. And then you can call that agent from your chatbot and say, hey, approve this patent for filing, as an example.
Thank you, Sebastian. That's really good to know. So I think we have almost coming to the end of the webinar. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank you. Thanks everyone for your questions and participation today. We hope today's session provided a useful insights into how AI, automations, connected workflow, trusted data, and all the integrated IP management are helping organizations to modernize your IP operations. So if we are unable to get your questions during the webinars today, please feel free to reach out to your Clarivet representative and we are happy to follow up afterwards. Before you leave, we greatly appreciate if you could take a few moments to complete the post-webinar survey. Please leave your feedback or any questions that you have in mind so that we can reach out to you and further discuss on the topic together. So on behalf of Clarivet, Joachim, Sebastian, and the team, we thank you again for joining us today. We appreciate your time and engagement, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you for attending.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.